Okay, we are live. So I'm just anybody that's ever watched me for any period of time, you know that I haven't fixed that thing on the vertical. That technology is just something, it's like anything in life. You have to practice it in order to get better at it. So practicing this little bit we're doing right here with these live streamings for every platform. And I realized that the overlay that I created, I didn't erase the responsibility. So I'll sit here and pick myself apart if I let myself. And that's not what we're here for. We're here to talk about the beautiful 2026 that we are all in right now. And I'm so excited about 2026. And what I've noticed up until 2026, the word resilience was another one of those buzzwords. Have you ever noticed there's all these buzzwords? I'm still kind of hooked on the one with the tweens or the preteens. I don't know which group that is. My nieces are in it. The Riz, and then there's something else that goes with Riz. So, anyways, that's not 2026, I can assure you, or maybe it is 6, 7. You know how they all do that. I let it get into my zeitgeist. I don't pay much attention to it. But resilience is something that people have written books about, and people were talking about it for a while. Of course, we all needed to get some sort of resilience when it came to that pandemic. But here's the thing is that I want to take away the idea of resilience because resilience just means that you survive. And just because it's a great buzzword doesn't mean that it's where we need to continue to stay because this is evolution. We are evolving in this beautiful planet that we live on. And so this whole thing of um, resilience, I want to replace it because this is I'm so I started this on Friday because that was the weekday. And I said I'm going to do this live every day. I don't even know what time it's going to be because I actually have a life. But here's the thing, and this is not a New Year's resolution. I think those are the silliest things ever. It's a choice that I want to be committed to doing something on a regular basis to serve my tribe, maybe some people outside of my tribe, because my tribe are those people that resonate with me. And I'm going to talk about that from a business perspective. But anti-fragility, I want you to begin to adopt that word for 2026 because anti-fragility, think about this. We are such a fragile group these days. I remember what was God, 10 years or so ago on a Tim Allen show. He talked about microaggressions. I went, what the hell is that? So a microaggression, he was about ready to give a talk at in this show to his daughter's college and he had to submit his talk and the talk started out with dear ladies and gentlemen, and so that's a microaggression. And there's a lot of conversation about how we microaggress people, which frankly my feeling is y'all get over it. Pull your big boy and girl panties on and say these are just words, and if you want to take them however, because whatever they're coming at you from, whatever intention you're receiving, is it what makes it your reality. So anti-fragility is, and let me give you a new definition, you grow because of whatever it is that's caused you upset or difficulty or challenge. Because when you're resilient, you just basically struggle through it. Anti fragility is like, oh, well, that just doesn't even bother me. This is not important. And if something is happening, you are actually growing because of it. And what's happening in the world today, I don't know if you've noticed this, but there's a few disruptions in the old way of being life. Well, yay, disruption of any kind is beautiful. I've done many, many podcasts and videos on the oh gosh, Simon Sinek, I forget what it's called, but anyways, only 1% of the population are innovators. In other words, they innovate some new idea, they're on the cutting edge, and then 12% after that or so become the early adopters. Let's all become some early adopters of the disruptions that you perceive in your life, no matter what they are. It doesn't have to be just 2026. You can do this for the rest of your life. But if we begin to look at how we are anti-fragile to disruptions and then we learn and grow from them, how magical and beautiful is that? We never are going to learn from our successes. If you don't know that thing, then you might want to pay attention because success doesn't grow you. Failures, disruptions, anti fragility, amazing things like that stretch you and grow you. And I'd love it if you'd all start listening to my podcast. I had an amazing guest on today that had the podcast isn't up yet, but she had the most amazing story of the things that she went to. And the thing that she shared with me that I was blown away with, because she was very conscious at 4 and 5 years old, she was aware. And her father she remembers this, her father held a gun to her head and said, "Would you like to die today?" And I mean, she has a really tremendously interesting life and the things that have happened to her, but how that's not fair for that to happen to a 4 or 5 year old. Of course it's not. But this woman is so centered and so grounded and so serene at this point in her life, and she has been through some stuff. We can all get through whatever we're going through with this anti-fragility and then learn from it and then embody the person that we truly are, because that's what this is all about. This is 2026 is about embodiment. And if you don't believe me, an interesting statistic that I heard, gosh, in the last 2 weeks is that 5 billion, I was going to say trillion, we don't have that many people, 5 billion women are on this planet going through some version of menopause or through menopause. So let me explain to the group what that means is when you go through menopause, your brain completely rewires and you are rewiring for wisdom. So, what a beautiful, beautiful concept that 5 billion women on the planet are in that mind change, that remodel of their brains. The energy of feminine energy is, it's uplifting the planet, it's doing a thing. Here's the thing is that people just they want to use this word chaos, like, oh my god, chaos is happening. I'm like, oh, I'm all about the chaos, because of chaos, because of the tearing down, because of the breaking down. That's what allows the new to show up. So if you look at nature, I find it very fascinating because it's such a good replica of what is happening in our lives. And we're in winter, and so what happens in winter? The trees lose their leaves, they get on the ground, they die, right? It's a constant cycle of dying and rebirth, dying, rebirth. We are humans on this planet. We don't, none of us don't have an expiration date, and none of us get out alive. But if you want to shift your life in 2026, you want to begin to embrace who you truly are, this is a great place to start. And as I said, my podcast always have some amazing guests, and then a few times in each week or one time, I will do a podcast on my own, which I'm about ready to upload one on creating businesses and coming from purpose and passion. Because at this conversation, I want to begin to talk to you about how are you allowing yourself to become more of who you are. And my opinion is, and it always has been, is the way you do that is that you become a founder, an entrepreneur, a business owner, not so you can make money and replace whatever this job is that you have, but that you begin to show the world who you are, because you can truly make money, right? Bring in the dollars with your passion and your purpose. I remember decades ago, I read a book about follow your bliss. We've gotten away from that, but I believe that Gen Y is now moving us in that direction. And so we have to really begin to look at, how are you putting yourself in a box that you aren't embodying who you are? Who is your soul self? And what is the image that you're showing the world that's not your soul self? And I love that we have all these influencers and they're showing you a version of themselves, which is this pretty made up version. And I want to encourage you to begin to be who you are. And I'm another overused word is authenticity, right? Be authentic. People are like, I don't know how to do that, or I'm doing it, and they're not. So I'm going to give you a new word. Be your soul self. Who is your soul at its core? Because you are a unique, individualized expression of the one. There is no one, no one, no one like you. No one. You are as unique as fingerprints, DNA. That's by design. So if you're that unique, why would you want to hide that? And more importantly, why would you want to be like anybody else? Just I've had to fight against this my whole life because I show up in, well, I think I have a little bit of makeup on today because I did my podcast with that lady, but the fact is that most of the time you see me, I don't have makeup on, I'm in sweats. I don't need to put on airs to show you my soul. I speak and I talk to you and I go deep with you. And the fact is if you get around me on a one-on-one circumstance or in a very small intimate group, you see exactly who that energy is. And so I encourage you to say to yourself, what am I going to do with 2026? Who am I going to become and embody? And what frequency do you choose to embody while that's happening? And I love the fact that I'm not that person that's going to tell you I'm going to help you get 50 million Instagram followers or social media followers or make $1 million overnight or, change who you are in 15 seconds. The Course in Miracles says you can do all of that in a holy instant. Most people do not have the map that they can begin to do that. I will tell you that you can be, do, or have whatever you choose if you embody that frequency and then begin to tell your truth. And so my messaging is always about talking about your purpose. Who are you truly? And how do you begin to, as I said, embody, incorporate that frequency? Because this is an inside job. Nobody's going to do this for you. And so I think I talked about last week, and I will forget what I've said most of the time because I'm constantly doing content and I never know where it's landing. But this whole idea of being a victim, I'm going to teach you over this period of time how to actually, if you haven't already, start a business or a side hustle. So at least you get out of the mindset of this job. And more importantly, if you do have one, how to grow it organically, how to grow it from purpose and not from the old masculine model. Because the masculine model is all about the numbers and the metrics and some other things that drive me a little crazy, the SMART goals. But here's where I want you to begin to think and sleep on this tonight. What is the legacy that you're leaving? We all leave a legacy, whether we know it or not. And our legacy doesn't have to be worldwide, right? I've been on the planet for 70 years, and 40 of those I've been doing things where I am in front of people and I'm speaking to them, and frankly, even one-on-one experiences. I know I have touched so many people's lives as a result of being the person that I am. Now, I will say that some of them probably would say that they were triggered as a result of that. And I'm an 8 on the Enneagram, so that means I challenge and I do challenge and trigger a little bit. But our legacy doesn't mean that we are going to be in a magazine or a news article or even somebody's obituary. You know what your legacy is internally, and it's the essence that you leave because you existed. So just because I've had this ability to debate people or trigger them or speak to them or encourage them or inspire them and teach them in so many different ways, that's not what's important for this conversation. What's important is that I always came from that heart center. And if you come from that heart center, and believe me, there's plenty of people that would disagree with the heart center part. When I'm being a drug addict or when I'm arguing with a family member, but I always know that those things are happening. And we do make choices in the world. And this is one of the things that this guest that I had on today was, she talks about choices, and that's her business, is to let you lean into the fact that you do have choices. So how many people do you think that you've activated in some way to leave your legacy? And what is your legacy? How many conversations are you having right now to model courage, to model leadership, to connect with another human, which is just a version of you? Because the quiet truth is There's no amount of money. I've taught abundance for years, and money is a currency. It is a form of energy, but you can't take it with you. You can't take it with you. So, what's going to happen from today on with you? How many conversations do you want to have that are leaving a legacy of the quiet truth of who you are? It's about beginning to live in alignment. And most they've done studies when it comes to people on their deathbed, hospice has done it, that the biggest regret that people have is that they didn't do the things that they wanted to do in their passion, in their soul's passion, in their soul's purpose. So I'm going to ask you a question before we leave tonight because I think it's important. Actually, two things I want you to do tonight. Um, I want you to write down your blue sky visions. What are those things that you never tell anybody, that you keep locked up in that heart of yours that is just palpitating to get out? I think that's one of the reasons people have heart attacks is because they're holding in their true purpose and passion. So write down that. You don't have to share it. I'm going to ask you maybe if you want to put it in the chat, but that's entirely up to you. Because here's the thing, once you write it down and you make it real, it starts to percolate and the universe starts reorganizing to make it happen. And then I want you to name what you are no longer going to trade for your growth and expansion. We talk about resolutions and we don't talk about visions about who are you becoming? If you say, I want to lose 50 pounds, that's a resolution. If you want to set a vision that you become the most healthy embodiment of your essence, that's a vision that can drive you towards whatever that is. But your growth is what will allow all of this. And it's those things that stop you, that take you out, that prevent that growth, these old versions of your safety that your map has created. So, what is one thing that you are no longer going to trade for growth? I personally am no longer going to trade eating sugar out of stress. And when I say that, it's not that I'm going to throw sugar out. I'm not going to choose to have that be a way that I cope because that's very clear that that's a choice that I make from time to time in times of my life. And we do have these addictions. So maybe, checking out through social media, doom scrolling is one of those things. It isn't about looking at it as a resolution and giving up and deprivation. It's like, how do I shift what I'm using to cope with a new thing that allows me to grow? So I'm going to leave you with that. What is your big blue sky vision, and what are you no longer willing to trade for your growth? What a beautiful thought to begin the 5th day of January. This is my deceased father's birthday, and it's got to have some beautiful energy around it. I don't know. We didn't have the best relationship, but I know that he is a God being right now. So none of anything that was in that human body is important, or was it even real? Because you have this opportunity right here, right now, to listen to your power inside. What is your intuition calling you to know during these live calls, whether you show up for them or you listen to them later? There's going to be nuggets in here for you to say, oh my gosh, she's talking to me. What do I need to know about that? What is your blue sky vision for 2026? And what are you no longer willing to keep you trading for growth? It's a beautiful thing. So I'll see you tomorrow. And honestly, I'm just going to do these lives. Unfortunately, I have such a busy schedule that even doing this was a little challenging, but I knew that this is going to be important. And so I'm going to find a way to do it, even if it's for 5 minutes, because it's a consistency. And that's what I will model for you so you can model it for yourself and others. Have a good night.